so today we're going to talk about a very, very easy concept. We're going to squeeze 3 chapters in together, 11, 12, and 13. We're going to do sort of 3 shorter assignments from each that talk about this particular thing. So what we're going to talk about today is 7th chords. And each chapter discusses specific 7th chords, but we're just going to smash it all together. So 7th chords are extremely easy. You guys know how to make a triad. All right, so our traditional triads, if we do a C major scale, C, E, G, D, F, A, etc., 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 you're making snowman all the way up, right? Easy peasy. All right, so we get to our top, right? And we've got 1, 2, minor chord, right? 3 is a minor, 4 major, 5, 6, 7, and finally 1, right? So these are our triads and our Roman numeral analysis for C major. Now all we do with 7th chords is add an extra note. So now we've got 4 notes in our chord in our snowman. So we're just stacking an extra note on top. All right, and this is what a 7th chord is. Now to indicate that it's a 7th chord, all we do is add a little 7 to it. If it's in root position. All right? That is literally all it is. All right? So when we talk about 7th chords and constructing them, there are some things you need to know. You need to know what they look like in inversions, and you need to sort of have an idea of how they're constructed, how we determine how they're major and minor, diminished. And there's a couple others that you need to know about too. But it all makes perfect logical sense, all right? So if you get the logic, you'll have no problem with these. So again, 7th chord, all you're doing is adding an extra note. If I show you on the piano, it might make it even easier. C down here, as you can see, and here's our triad. E, G, right? Adding in an extra note, right? Now we are, so that's a 7th chord. Got it? So we're just adding another note to the triad. So it's going to be a 4-note chord instead of a 3-note chord. So hopefully that makes sense. And let's see. So now let's start deconstructing some of these chords. So let's talk about the inversions of chords, because these are very, very easy. So if we take a typical 7th chord, right, and we deconstruct it, so let's do C, E, G again. So C, E, G, B, all right? So C major 7th chord. All right, so here it is in root position. All right, so this will be a 7. Oops, there we go, there's C. All right, so we'll call this 1, 7. All right? Just like that. Oops, let me plug the computer in real quick, sorry. Plugged it to show you guys the piano. Okay, so here we've got root position, tonic, which you're not going to see that often, but shh. All right, we're in C major. We'll deal with it. So now if we take this bottom note, right, and it travels from the bottom, just like we do with a regular note, to the top, to C right here. right? We just kind of stick them right next to each other, just like that. We get 1, and then we get 6, 5. All right? And the official count actually is this. So this one would technically be called 7, 5, 3. All right? Root position. And you can count it if this makes logical sense to you. So here we've got from the tonic or from the bass note, we always count from the bass. From here it's a 7th, a 5th, and a 3rd. From here, technically it's called 1, 6, 5, 3. So we've got a 6th. Oh, this doesn't exist, right? We erase the C, and it moves up here. So from our bass note, from E to C, it's a 6th. And then from E to B, it's a 5th. And E to G, it's a 3rd. So 6, 5, 3. All right, so this is first inversion. Okay, still following me? And then we take this note, right? Move it up. So we have G on the bottom, G, B, and then C and E. So this is all one cluster. It's played all at the same time. So this becomes 1, 4, 3. Let's see. What's the official? Let me just double check this. And technically it's 6, 4, 3. Yeah. All right. So this is second. So we've got a 6th apart, a 4th apart, and a 3rd apart. Okay, so it's just counting spacing. And then finally, last but not least, we've got B as the bass, and then C, E, G up here. All right, and this is technically going to be 1, 6, 4, 2, because we've got a space of a 6th, a 4th, and a 2nd. All right, and this is third inversion. So just like our old inversions, if you remember, first inversion we don't put anything, or root position we don't put anything. First inversion it's a 6th, and then second inversion it's 6, 4, right? Here we have, for convenience, just like we delete a couple of the letters for convenience in our root position, we also do that with the numbers and the pedal in here. So this is sort of redundant, right? We don't need to know that's a 5, 3. We know that already. So this just reduces to being called 1, 7. All right. This one we also get rid of the 3. It becomes 1, 6, 5 for short. These two, we get rid of the 6th on the top. All right, so this becomes 4, 3, second inversion, and 4, 2, and third inversion. Now, the easiest way to remember this is that root goes 7, first inversion is 6, 5, second inversion 4, 3, and then third inversion 4, 2. So all you have to do is count backwards. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and then you have to remember for third inversion that it's 4, 2. Don't go 2, 1. All right? But that's the easiest way to remember it. So 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 4, 2. Okay? So yeah, if you can just block memorize that one, you'll have an easy time. Now, when we construct seventh chords, how do we determine whether they're major or minor or whatever, and how do we show that? Well, I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so a minor chord or a seventh chord can be constructive of a few things. All right? So we're always going to take into account, this is back in chapter 13, and this is all the way over in 13 if you need to use it as a reference, with the non-dominant seventh chords. Okay. So if we construct a typical chord, say our 1 chord in C major, we'll go right back to that. So C, E, G, and B. Just like so. Right? So what we do is we determine entirely by spacing again. So the first part we try to figure out is the triad, so this bottom half. And then the second part is informed by how far the 7th is from the tonic and from the 5th. Either or, whichever works best for you. I find it's a little bit easier to look at the 3rd. Others find it easier to look at the 7th. So in this case, we have C to E, which is a major 3rd, right? And then E to G, minor 3rd. And then G natural to B is going to be another major 3rd. So what we have is a major triad stacked with a major 3rd on top, right? So major triad here and a major 3rd. Or if you prefer to think of it from C to E, it's going to be a major 7th, all right? So we have a major triad and a major 7th on the outside. So C, and then the major 7th, right? And so we're going to call this triad a, wait for it, major, major triad, all right? I know it's a little weird, but that one's called major, major. And the symbol, if you need to give it an analysis, it would be 1, 7, just like that, all right? Now in the book, they talk about macro analysis symbols. So if you want to indicate that it is a major 7th, you're going to put a little m, a tiny capital M next to the 7th, just like that. I don't expect to see that, and honestly, I've never, ever, ever seen that in actually used. So I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, so if we then take this same exact chord all right, and we still have our major triad, major chord, and we lower this by a half step. So this becomes a minor 7th. Or more importantly, it's a minor 3rd now between these two notes, right? Between G and B flat. So this is minor 3, right? This becomes known as major because of the major triad, and minor because of the minor 7th. So major, minor, all right?